How are we doing, everyone? Welcome to episode 1 of a new series, PDF Hunters. Every single week, we're going to be bringing you some of the independent, shall we say, vigilantes, some might say, content creators, other may say, whatever you want to describe them. There seems to be a modern wave of content, whether it is meeting individuals on the street, shutting them down on the internet, but people don't seem to like the activities, and rightfully so, of these evil PDFs. And we have got one of the most badass from my country here in the UK, Maria from, am I right in saying formerly known as CIM Midlands? That was the name of your old Facebook, right?
Yeah, Children's Innocence Matters.
Okay, now this is your new home here, right? Maria Clark OAVAP, right? This is the channel. So
OVAP.
mods, this is what you want to be spamming, okay? And we want to be getting over there and populating this channel for when the new content comes out. Now, Maria and I have had a chat, and Maria is going to be co-hosting this series with me now on a Monday. And we're going to, like I say, we're going to have different guests coming on, different hunter groups and individuals that fight the good fight from around the globe, shall we say, and just bring that to all of you wonderful people. Now, please make sure you guys like, subscribe, push this show out for us, and we'll delve into what got you started in this first, Maria. Let's introduce yourself to the side chat. Let us know a little bit about your credentials.
We have to be careful. Do we have to be careful how we word things on here?
Yes, very much so. So when we talk about human transportation, we say human transportation. When we talk about the P words, it's PDF files.
PDF,
when somebody doesn't consent to something, we call that R-ing. And then
right.
Any form of SEX like attacks is SA. It's a fun language called algorithm that
I'll have to learn, because my language is terrible when it comes to stuff like that.
As long as we make, if between the two, because I'm the same, if we can get to about 8:30 without swearing, we should be out of the lighter swear words zone. But we want to make sure we don't swear, because the algorithm hates us as it is. So, but introduce yourself. Take us through your, like I say, your credentials, if you will, your history, what got you into this.
I guess so it all started, obviously, when I was a child. My mum got left my birth father. She met a guy who adopted me. He was a nice guy from what I remember, but then when I turned 5, 6, she left him, got mixed into trying to think how to word it. Basically selling herself.
Yeah. Okay. That's exactly perfect. Yeah, perfectly done.
She got into selling herself, and got mixed in with, will I say the PIMPS word? Can't hear you.
Yeah, let's just call them PIMPs for now. That's a good way of putting it.
Okay, so she got mixed up with them. The new relationship she got into, pretty much straight away from what I remember, he would do stuff to me in the same bed as my mum, whilst sometimes she was asleep, sometimes she was awake. I would wet the bed, get back in that bed every night, knowing what was going to happen, but I didn't fear it, because that was normal in our house, because of what my mum was doing and what her friends were doing and what was going on in our home life, that SEX was normal. So I wasn't going to school and saying this is happening to me every day. And when I'd wet the bed, I'd get straight back into it. So there was no fear, because it was normal. So I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't question anything. And then I think as I got older, I started to realise. And when I got to about 9, 10, I was taken to blues parties. They were back in the 80s, 90s. I was taken to them, dressed up. Other stuff happened there as well. And then they would come back home with my mum. Sometimes her customers would come back with her. People would be in my bed with me, because I had a double bed. And things just progressed and sort of went on from then. Then life went on, and that, I think I was in and out of the care system. I disclosed to social services back in, I think it was in 86.
Maria, can I
Yeah,
just talk to that? Just this is going to sound really weird, right?
go on.
But for some reason, I wasn't prepared for your story. So,
Okay.
as a survivor of this, are you waiving your anonymity to tell your story?
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah,
That's
absolutely
fine.
don't mind. This is what
Right. Yeah, that's
this
all you
is
need to
what's
say.
made me.
Just
This
carry
is
on.
what's made me. So to me, I believe that everybody's in this world for a reason. You know, like you get religious people that believe that they're sent by God or whatever. You know, all these things. Like, all they. I'm a believer of turning my negatives into positives. So I've gone to unalive myself. I've done all sorts growing up because at the age of I've lost my train of thought now.
Sorry.
S-
Sorry.
it's all right. So so it carried on and carried on, and then when I got to around I think I was about 11 or 12. At the age of 6, first of all, I was deemed beyond parenting control, and that was obviously because of what was going on.
Of
Then
course.
around the age of 11 or 12, social services placed me into I was put on a full care order and placed on a residency order, which is place of safety order. So they basically put me away into a secure unit with children that had committed crimes, even though I hadn't committed crimes. They placed me in there. It's basically a children's prison, um, to pay, apparently to keep me safe because I kept running away and stuff. But I've obviously obtained documents since then. And then in 1986, I'd actually been witnessed screaming, clinging my mum's legs, and she said that she'd wanted to get rid of me because I was hiding his belongings and wetting the bed, which was clear signs, but they still left me there. In 1990, on the way to school, whilst I was in the care system at this point, I disclosed what had been going on and I told other people. Um, and since then, to break it down a little bit, because obviously it could go on forever, but since then, obviously I put a complaint into social services. Why did you not, if I was on a full care order, why did you not follow, call a strategy meeting or do anything about it? And they then went on to victim blame me by saying that because you said you didn't want anybody to know, but actually that wasn't my right. And that takes me to why I do a lot of stuff
Yeah.
with people that are going through problems with social workers and stuff like that, because
Well, first of all, I
go on.
never. If I had known that's what your answer was going to be, okay,
Okay.
I would have asked you first of all if you were comfortable retelling that, and second of
Yeah.
all, if you were okay reliving that, because
Yeah. 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 I live it
I've
every day.
I know
I
you.
live it every day, don't I? So
I know. I just
I,
wanted you. I just want to make sure. I'm a very big believer in, it's not about the content; it's about the person when it comes to
nah.
stuff. As long as you're fine.
I relive it every day, and I choose to do that in life to protect other kids from ever going through what I've had to go through, and the failure in the system, the failure from my own mother. And there's a lot of people that won't speak out about it because they're scared of upsetting family members. And I
Yeah.
always say to them, don't worry about upsetting other family members. Speak out. The hundreds of people, men and women, I've managed to get to speak out and come and get justice because they say, well, I'm scared of, for example, I'm scared of speaking out because it'll upset the family. I might not be believed, or, it might split my parents up. Well, unfortunately, that's something you shouldn't have to live with. Do you know what I mean? If they love you as much as you're loving them to protect them from feeling that, then they're going to support you. They're going to be there for you. So
Yeah.
so that's the answer. That's what got me into it. And then I think my daughter was 6 years old and she was playing in the living room. And I remember looking at her, and for years I used to pick the phone up and try and ring the police. And then I used to think they're not going to believe me. And then I was in a quite abusive relationship where he said, "Oh, I bet you loved it. That's why you kept getting back into the bed." So then I started thinking maybe that's what they're going to think about me. That's why I kept getting back in the bed. Well, when my daughter was 6, she was playing with her toys, and I looked and I thought, how can anybody find a child, as attractive? Like how? How? It's impossible. You can't. And then just watching her play that day, and I broke down crying. I rang the police. They immediately sent somebody out to speak to me. I think it was to see if I was plausible with what I was saying. Because then as soon as they came out and spoke to me and obviously realised that I even had historical evidence as well, backing up my claims, that then I had my police interview, and then he was charged. They'd asked my mum for a statement. She wrote half a statement with the police, and then she said to me, "You're gonna have to go because I've got to go back to work." And every time the officer kept trying to go and get her statement back, signed and filled in, she would avoid them. So in the end, when he was charged in that, the judge ordered my mum to court, which she wasn't expecting. So I think, in answer to why I do it, is because I don't want any other kids to go through what I'm going through, or what other victims. Plus, I want to help victims and stuff as well. Come forward, which I have done.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that story, I think it's the failings of social services seem to be rampant in so many of these stories. And
well, this is why I do a lot to do with actively helping families. I mean, that's for another day, but they are taking children that don't need to be taken. Sometimes it's a money machine, unfortunately.
Yeah, we've spoken a few times about the multi-leveled tactics within social services on this channel. And I just want to say apologies to you. I just realized I actually set up the forwarding from the last live stream incorrectly. I spent today building up the audience to forward onto this live stream, and then I screwed it up at the last minute. So if we can all basically like and share and push this out because Ron done a boo-boo, that would be fantastic, and I would really appreciate it, because this is going to be one of those series that is really going to grow once the audience gets wind of it. Because now, Maria, we're going to talk about one case in particular today. And I want to jump into it because I know your time is limited this evening. And this was, when was this? When did this happen?
I think it was the beginning of February this year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. So this was round about the time where we were doing a Friday podcast. We still do it, called A Royal Mess. And I got incredibly overjoyed at the fact that my new world of royal commentary and old world of PDF hatred have collided. And this whole sting, I will say as well, you're all getting lovely, polite, and sounding very relaxed and happy, Maria, tonight. Her reputation for being a badass precedes her, and you will hear the badassery as we go forth when she deals with these.
Only when it comes to PDFs, I've got no respect for none of them.
Too right. Well, that's what I was just going to go on to say, and rightfully so for the individuals that you're dealing with. Now, excuse me. Let's just go into a little bit of background. So the individual, Andrew Mellin, he's a former advisor to King Charles. He is a royal painter, or still is a royal painter to some extent.
He's done his coronation painting as well.
Yeah, I mean, to put it in context, I don't think we're talking about the big red one. It was another painting. There was a bunch of coronation paintings done.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is, for 4 years, he worked alongside who is now Prince Charles, King Charles, who was Prince Charles. He had a property next door to Princess Diana. He was very friendly with her and interacted with her children, and carry on the tale.
It was 42 years.
Oh, 40. Was it 42 years?
I'm sure it's 42. Was it not?
I don't know. That seems like a bit long to me. But for whatever,
anyway, long time.
Whatever the time frame was, it was legitimate. And when you enter the house, you're going to see letters from the Queen on the wall. You're going to see letters from Diana. It's not this guy says he was this person. This is legitimate.
No. Loads of people were saying to me on the live, "Oh, Maria, he's lying to you. He's crazy." I knew he wasn't. So before, do you want me to carry on? Sorry.
Yeah, of course, please do.
So I was the 15-year-old decoy on this one, and he came up on an app, which was an adult GAY app that we use, because there is a lot of teenage boys that go on there. There's adults advertising absolutely in the usernames for teenagers, for kids. And I can't remember his username at the time. I'm going to get my Google Drive out just to have a quick look.
That's
One second.
Whilst you're doing once again,
Yeah,
everyone, please like and share. Please help me push this out because of my administrative error. I would like to give Maria the biggest platform that we possibly can. So please help me push this out. And Maria, back to you once you get your drive sorted.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll talk through it while I'm looking for it. So he came onto the app and obviously approached me first. He was very quick to throw in that he had been an advisor for the Royals. And obviously, as a child, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. You know, I didn't believe him, if I'm honest with you, because I thought, what is the chances of somebody being, I mean, I have caught people in high up places, okay. But I thought, what is the chances of this? Like, wow. And he quite quickly went over to WhatsApp and started sending me the grossest images. And I told him straight away my age. I'm just, oh God, that's not the site I want to see. He then started sending me embossed letters from the royal family.
So he made contact with you, and right
Yeah.
away, even though knowing that you were a 15-year-old, that
Yeah.
he started to send indecent images.
Yeah.
And then went on with his, and we're just going to call it. It's a word. For example, the word we're not going to be able to say rhymes with vrooming, right? You may
Yeah.
take your dog to get vroomed, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, but it sounds like that was his go-to clout card, if you will, for the vrooming process.
Well, with my conversation with him, I told him that he'd been asking me for images, and I told him I was really nervous, and I went on to ask him, does any other boys my age? Because my concern was how quick he went, because it doesn't, you know, a lot of them take time to trust that you're real, because a lot of them are aware that there is, and that concerned me a bit more. And so I asked him, do you have, you know, does any other lads my age, do you see any my age? And he went straight to boast that he'd got other kids that go around there.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously my stomach was churning. He sent me videos of him having rumpy pumpy with his bed. It was a rumpy pumpy. Honestly, like, they're images that I'll never get out of my mind. And the seriousness we have to look at is he believed in his mind that I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what sickens me. So he invited me round to his property as a 15-year-old boy. Now, when we've got there, obviously it's me and my team members that have turned up. When we've arrived, he's trying to rush us away from his door because he's got a visitor coming, but that visitor was me, a 15-year-old boy.
Isn't it so ironic, though, right? How desperate they are to keep their plans. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'll do just now, Maria, is just cut to a little bit of the audio here, because one thing that I love more than anything is the initial fumbling of the PDF. This is something that you're going to see throughout this series. Is when you initially make contact. They for half a second when they open the door, they're not quite sure of what's happening, and then boom.
Well, he even went on to say to me in the chat that there's a lot of weirdos out there that will be jealous of me.
Oh man, right. Well, let's hear your first interaction with this individual.
Go on.
You are speaking inappropriately
to children
online.
Quick.
Right.
About
inappropriately to children online. Right.
And the only person
as I've explained, my name's James Hunter.
But you've also come and see me paintings.
As I've explained, Andrew, Hunter, I travel around the country to catch individuals speaking to underage children online in an inappropriate manner. Right?
Can
I explain?
Show me his profile first.
Right.
That's the profile that you started on.
Yeah. Right.
Show me his WhatsApp.
Where's the WhatsApp? Is that your number?
Ending in 211.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
He said he was coming back.
When were you last?
So, when you're on a sting like this and you identify, and you've got now a confirmation that the number that I would imagine a lot of these illicit images are coming from in a conversation where someone is admitted to being 15, this is, I imagine, the first of many stepping stones that are in a line of practice for you when you're doing this, right?
Yeah. So before we go there, anyway, I want to make sure I'm 110% certain I'm going for the right person. So, meaning I will request images off the person that I'm speaking to, the adult, but not indecent images.
Of course,
I'll request an image off him that he has to do like there and then, so I know he's real. I'll do a lot of research, a lot of time and effort goes into it before we go there. And he'd invite me round to his home address. So he was what I would call a very blatant PDF who didn't care. He wasn't worried, he didn't care, and it was normal. These are the dangerous ones.
that's what I was going to say to you. It's the God complex that only come. And look, I just want to point this out. This was at the bottom of his stair here. Get naked. The little.
If you look on the left, it's Jimmy Savile on the wall that is painted. Just before, if you look, just as you go through the door, you'll see on the left-hand side at the bottom of the stairs. And he'd also told the child, when you come in at the bottom of my stairs, they're not too bad paintings, but as you go upstairs, they get more graphic.
Yeah, I remember you said that to me in one of our previous conversations.
But just behind that door, just there on the left, as you're coming in, is a painting of Jimmy Savile that he'd done.
No, me and my gloriousness, I've taken it way too far. So we're just gonna go as soon as he walks through, I'll pause it, I promise, right? But
yeah,
when somebody has this level of God complex, let's just call it that for ease, it just showcases how desensitized and often they must be involved in this sort of activity. Right, here we go. We're on a Savile hunt here. Okay.
And when I told him my age, I'm just looking at the chat now, he said he's never really bothered with it about age as long as the brains are working and they're not a time waster.
No, I screwed that up. So that when we go into this house, this is all his artwork, right? This is all his paintings and things that he's done. And it's as far as wall space is concerned, this is like the hoarder version of putting stuff on your walls. Okay, it's not as unhealthy as a hoarder syndrome, but there is no space left on these walls. I mean, he is living in his own narcissistic reflection.
Yeah.
You know,
on the left hand side, that's where his letters were from the Princess Diana.
Yeah.
I mean, what he said about Princess Diana, I'm not a royalist at all. I'm not really into it. But what he said about her, that infuriated me because she loved the kids. And the last letter she sent to him, which he sent to me as a child, was, you know, thank you for being there for them, cooking with them, with Harry and William.
Yeah.
And that he was a dear friend. And
just to reiterate, we're talking about somebody who lived next door to Diana. We're talking about somebody who was a royal not correspondent, royal. He worked along Prince Charles. He was an advisor. Sorry, he was an advisor to Prince Charles, who is now King Charles. This man has letters from the Queen. This isn't a joke, is basically what I'm getting at with regards to his connection to the royals. Now, as this goes on, he sings like a canary. Okay. Like as far as your mindset, you must be thinking, my word, this is a signed, beautiful parcel for Scotland Yard or whoever the hell it is, right? The police force. You must be thinking to yourself, booful. He's already admitted to this. He's already admitted to talking to more minors. He's given us flipping explanations. You know, this is what is happening here throughout this very, very long wait and this operation. And for me, we're going to get to it in a minute, but what were the key moments that stood out from this entire bust?
For me?
Yeah, for you, yeah.
The fact that he wasn't scared, the fact that he normalized it, the fact that he said to me, he's a 15-year-old boy. You know, if he wants to. You know, it was normal that he was a 15-year-old boy and it was okay. You know, he just didn't care, and he used his position to impress me as a decoy. And I've been decoying for nine years, as well as hunting.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, it absolutely sickened me, the fact that he just didn't care. You know, he just wasn't bothered. There was no fear there. Even when he knew he was going to be arrested, there was no fear there at all. He was still normalizing it.
Now there's normalizing it, right? And then there's no fear of the police coming. And
No, he had no fear at all.
we cannot give the impression those two things tend to go hand in hand, right?
Can I just say another thing as well?
Of course.
Well, so with this case now, when every case I do, I've only been called to court now 5 times, okay, in way over 800-900 I've done, right? Because they all go guilty, and
Yeah.
even when they try and get away with it, I go to try. Listen, when I'm on a sting, I'm potty mouth. When I'm in the courts and I want justice for somebody there that's wanting to grape a kid, yeah,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I'm OCD as well. I've got ADHD and I'm OCD. It has to be thorough. So when I'm going in there giving my evidence, you know, like I'll give you just a quick example. One of them turned around to me with prosecution. I'll put it to you, Miss Clark, that you asked him if he'd got learning difficulties. I said, yeah, because he was laughing just like he is now. He doesn't care. This was another one. Put it to you that you called him a dirty bastard. I said, yeah, I did, because that's what I think about people like this. Yeah, that's what I think about them. So they try and get away with it around that way. Okay, he still got guilty. With this guy now, when we get letters, so when we've caught them, we always get letters from victim support, victim care. And they'll say to us, he received this, or he's in court on this date, are you available on this date? Witness care, meaning we are a witness to the case, correct? If we're receiving letters from witness care, updating us on cases, when we're supposed to go to if we're supposed to be required in court or not, or what happened at a case, we are a witness. I've been asking all the way through regarding this case, okay, could you update me on what's going on? No, you're not really a witness theoretically. Oh yeah, I am. Why am I not a witness then? This is my case. Of course I'm a witness. I was a decoy. It's my case. Without me, there's no case. I've had to find out through the local newspapers and followers what's happened throughout the case. They're still not updating me. And it's really unusual, this is. So I get frustrated, and obviously then they don't take my calls because I end up telling them to go forth and multiply.
Well, this is it. So again, just to reiterate, 800-900 cases, almost a decade, and this one stands out for a multitude of reasons. And
Yeah.
when we talk about the amount of devices that were removed from this man's home, okay?
So they spent 4.5 hours, yeah. 4.5 hours I stood out there in the cold because I wanted to make sure that they'd done their job thorough. And I tell you what, hats off to the police officers that dealt with it, okay? Because obviously it goes on to CID. The police officers that arrived, they were spot on. 4.5 hours, usually an hour maximum. That's maximum.
Wow.
4.5 hours, and they filled up about 3 cars. They brought bags and bags of devices out of there. And obviously I said to them before they went in, I said, be careful, because you're going to probably see things you don't want to see, because the neighbours had told us they'd had to have their house soundproofed because of the noises that come from that property.
Oh, wow.
He walks around naked in his garden, all sorts.
That is wild. You know, and here's the crazy thing. Wouldn't it be awful? When have you ever heard of, let's just for visual purposes say, a medium family's shopping worth of Asda bags full of devices being removed from a home after 4.5 hours of searching, with a pile of evidence pointing towards that there was a very explicit exchange of not only media but conversation to a minor. Why then was that evening this man back in his house using a device and a phone? Would there not usually be restrictions put on somebody in a case like this? It just seemed odd.
Sometimes they do, but unfortunately at the minute, Ron, a lot of them are getting released with nothing. No, wow. Some of them aren't even getting restrictions. Yeah, okay. Some of them are not even getting restrictions.
And here's the crazy story, right? Here's the reason I know this, Maria. So this man had infiltrated the YouTube commentary community, all right? And 2 friends of mine, a lady named P. Dinah and a lady named Paula M., had been sent artwork by this guy. Now, keep in mind, this was before the bust, months and months and months and months before the bust.
Yeah, nobody knows who's who, do they? So they can't be.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were a royal commentator and this guy approaches you and goes, hey, letter-headed paper, hey, met the Queen, hey, all of this stuff, I would like to send you a painting. As a YouTuber, because again, before the bust, you're going to be like, yeah, all right, no bother.
Yeah, cool.
Isn't it really weird that both these women have charitable like foundations that work with children? Right? Isn't it odd that those are the two people he gravitated to? Almost like, hey, one day I'm going to get to the point where where I come out and I meet you and get closer and closer to people's children. And I just think
what they do.
It's a creep, because here's the often thing that isn't discussed, Maria, is how many parents are groomed just into relationships to gain access to children.
Can I just quickly jump in there? So I around 3 or 4 years ago, I had a decoy that was 11. Okay, and this you just hit the nail on the head. Had a decoy that was 11 that I was using, and I had somebody come to me, a male, grooming me, and he said to me, "Has your mum got any dating apps or social media that I can add her on so I can F you?"
Wow.
Get in with her so I can F you. You've just hit the nail on the head. And this happened. When I researched this guy, now, this is really crazy, okay? I researched this guy. Now, sometimes we go to the police, they're great. Sometimes they are absolutely diabolical and don't take it serious. Hence why I do a lot of real child cases, and I'll go and bust them because the police say, oh, yeah, we'll be out in a couple of days. No, right? It's immediate response to me.
Yeah.
So anyway, cut a long story short, I'd done a bit of research into this guy, and then I put a post up on my page, my CIM page, and I said, does anybody recognise this guy? How crazy is this? This woman come forward. I think it was a friend, actually. She said, oh my God, he's just stole the Xbox out of my friend's. He basically got in with my friend, yeah. But luckily, I mean, not luckily, but he liked girls, not boys. So thankfully, she had 2 boys, not girls. Because he wasn't interested in boys, but he'd hooked up with her on a dating app, okay, but he'd robbed their stuff just before Christmas and cleared off. The police went, and obviously it became a big thing. He was arrested eventually. It took quite a long time to arrest him. I had to basically arrange to meet the guy, and the police went and got him at the meet location. But that's fact there, that they do that. And even more blatant, this guy was also a con artist traveling the country. He'd not long before he got with this woman on the dating app, been living with a police officer. Yeah, the family that rented a room. And when they went abroad on holiday, he sold all the all the cars. He got the logbooks and sold all the vehicles from there.
Yeah.
So absolutely that happens.
Yeah, I had a friend down south who she moved into a new building, and there was like a caretaker, janitor, security, doorman-y guy. I don't know. Little man lives in a box, keeps everybody, if anybody has a problem in the apartment building.
Yeah.
And when she moved in, it turned out that he went on to her social medias, learned all about who her dad was. He was previously in the army and passed away. Put together this whole false narrative that he was in a similar regimen and gained her trust and all the rest of it. And sadly, fast forward about 1.5 years of rooming, her little girl who was autistic got abused by this guy because of how close.
Man, honestly,
into her life.
I always say, and it's probably really harsh, yeah. And I'm not saying to people, oh, don't trust anybody, but the only person you can trust 110%, when I say this, I get goosebumps, with your child is yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I put it even in an even worse way, Maria, because I say the same thing. I say the only person in the world that you truly know isn't a PDF, is yourself. Okay.
Is yourself. There's another thing I just want to highlight as well, that I highlight with people all the time. They say, oh my God, I never thought of that. So when you go on dating apps, because a lot of people do, there's a question, do you have children? Tick no.
Yeah.
Tick no, because the reverse side of it is when an adult, and I'll say adult, it's just that women are a bit clever at getting away with it. When an adult goes on these apps, they can actually type in if they want somebody that's got a child. So you're a perfect target then to a PDF. Yeah, by answering that question, because they can easily suss out then who has got them, because it even asks you, are all your children still at home or left home? It absolutely is crazy question.
Yeah. And again, there's so many subcategories of these monsters. Okay. And one thing that was highlighted in this case to me, right, was a possible subculture within gay men, right, where 14 and 15-year-old teenagers don't see themselves as victims, and it's almost like I don't know, a possible lingering culture thing to sort of be shown the way by an older person. Do you
Yeah, because
think?
they like the rewards, it's gifts. So that takes
Oh
me
yeah,
back to the thing where they yeah, go on.
there's that side of it. But do you think that because in some cases when it comes to underage gay kind of meets, if you will, all right, that there's a lot of people who are victims who don't realize that they are victims out there.
1,000,000,000%. Lads are lads, you know. So this is another thing, lads, right? Here,
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. There was a guy that I was quite close to,
Yeah.
a friend of mine, and he told me that he believes that when he was younger he was groomed, and I
Okay.
said, "Why? What happened?" So he fell in love with his friend's mum. Okay, his friend's mum was sleeping with him, right? And was promising to leave her husband, etc., etc. Now he didn't. As guys, unfortunately, this is the way it goes, right? They think, "Oh, this is great. An older woman's liking me." No, she's just as filthy as them, the
Yeah.
men that are doing it. Yeah, but unfortunately, in a guy's mentality, they think, "Oh, this is great. This is, you know, an older woman showing me attention. I'm a big man now." You know, that's the attitude they have. So he said to me, I'm realizing that I think that she may have thinking me as when I was younger. And I said, "Well, what happened?" And then he was telling me that she went on to have a child and then ended it with him. Yeah. He said, "But it's really strange because now I've grown up and I've had a child. My child actually looks like her son." So I said, "Do you think it could have been your child?" He said, "Absolutely." I said, "You know what you can do then, don't you?" And he said, "What?" I said, "Well, you can kill two birds with one stone there." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you can prove that she'd done whatever she'd done with you underage. Yeah. Because of the time that the child was born.
Yeah.
And you can also prove that child's yours. So you've got, you know, you can prove everything." I said, "All you've got to do is get the two boys to do a DNA, or you do a DNA with him. He was older. You know,
Yeah.
that's all you got to do." They looked, and it turned out, yeah. So he started getting his own justice.
Damn.
You know, it's mad.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, to realize that, to have all of, not only obviously the fact that you just found out that you've got a child effectively, but to realize the validation that's going to come from that, but yet also the destruction that's going to come to their life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, people that do this stuff to children, right, don't realize just how far the waves of their actions spread throughout all of this. It's a sick world. It really, really is. Right. Anyway, let's get back to the man here.
Yes.
What the hell's his bloody name again? I keep Andrew Mellin.
Andrew Mellin.
Andrew Mellin. Yeah, sorry. I'm terrible. So you've entered the property, right? You've basically, he's sung like a canary and all the rest of it. And I posted a link for people who want to go and watch the full bust. But he, at one point, when you watch this back, he tells stories about Prince Andrew, about being slapped on the backside and all the rest of it, right? You can confirm this, yeah?
Yeah. He wasn't even bothered. He wasn't even bothered. And this is what I'm saying. So this goes on behind closed doors of anybody, royal or not royal, yeah? It goes on. And the fact that he just talked about it so normal, you know, "Oh, Prince Andrew used to slap my arse. The Queen used to ask if I'd had a good night because she knew I was gay and I was out and blah, blah, blah." And
yeah. It was quite a story, right?
But would you not think that they fell out with him now after all this? Surely, because they've refused to comment. I've seen that.
So
Because Go on.
No, I'm just going to say they refuse to comment. I mean, I imagine it's a different story when your brother gets caught on a certain island and there's a bunch of photographs to go with it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they're going to keep this guy at a distance. But the way it's been handled, Maria, right? The way that he didn't seem to fear the police, the fact that he was driven home afterwards by the police.
Yeah, the policewoman said, yeah, but that's CID that would have done that, not the police, because the policewoman, because I said to her, oh, by the way, he went with the Royals, and she went, I don't give a shit what he done, who he is, like, and she was great, yeah, but the fact, yeah, so the fact that he was brought home that evening is absolutely crazy, and they gave him a lift because she said, make sure you bring enough for your taxi because you'll be getting a taxi home. Even the officer said to him in the live, you get a taxi home, just make sure you've got your taxi money with you. And then I've just had a quick nosy on his socials, right, because I don't really check it. 2 days ago, he's put more paintings up of Diana.
Yeah, I mean, the guy hasn't stopped. We literally done a live stream when you done this bust, and Paula was there on the live stream talking about how outraged she was about this, and he's still messaging her as if they're friends. We're talking about a level of narcissistic delusion, or I don't know, untouchability, God complex, whatever. But surely the things that this man has said during the bust, along with your evidence and testimony, should be put him in the realms of a convictable case.
But did he also not say on the live that he'd been arrested? Was it either New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve for grape? For grape.
Yeah. Well, it was something
we
else.
Didn't. We weren't even aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was something horrendous that he'd been accused of, or there'd been something. But am I right in saying now, I don't want to get, anybody into trouble, but he has a bit of a reputation. You said earlier about the soundproofing of the houses and things like this.
Yeah, the neighbour said that, and another neighbour came out. This is what infuriates me as well, because they're so protected, and it's really hard for me not to use the effing and jeffing right now because I get so frustrated with it.
I just want to say you're doing so well, considering how much we've spoken on the phone, and like, as far as I'm concerned, you get an honorary Scottish award for the swearing that you do. Like,
yeah,
you nail it. So you've done really well. Like, you've nailed it.
Yeah. So one of the neighbours came out, okay, and so while this was all going on, one of the neighbours came out, not the one that went to speak to him about it the next day, but it was another neighbour. Now, she came out and she said to us quite openly, to all of us, at first she went, well, it doesn't surprise me, and she went to walk off. So one of the neighbours said to her, what do you mean it doesn't surprise you, about him? And she went, oh, well, I don't really want to say, I don't like to say. And I said, no, you need to say now. You can't make that comment and not tell us, because if children are in danger, we need to know. And then she went, well, basically her children got locked out. This lady's 2 children got locked out because the front door automatically locks or something, or the back door, either one of them automatically locked. So they've come out and they're crying, and they've gone round to Andrew's house, to find, for an adult or something, which is then called the police to say that the children are out and the parents are there, but the parents were there, but they'd not realised these kids had gone out. Later on that day, the officer rang this lady. This is this lady that's told us this, okay? I can't confirm this is true, but I have no reason to doubt what this lady said. This lady said that the officers rang her on the night later on that day and said, it's really good that your children went to find an adult to speak to help, but can you just be careful where they go in future?
Wow.
Okay, just be wary about where they go. So that tells me he was already being watched.
Yeah, he was on someone's radar.
And this is what infuriates me: is in a seaside town where it is a high gay, like gay town. Like a lot of people come all over to travel to Blackpool because it has got a gay scene. Okay,
sure.
But and a lot of straight men go to Blackpool for the scene, undercover, whatever. But they use the names that they
Me and Dan
Yeah.
went to Blackpool 3 times in 1 year. There's nothing suspicious going on. We just like the it's just good banner. All right. Before anyone starts posting conspiracies or anything like that, because we're very
Well, they use username like Team for Reward, Dad for Son. That's the usernames. They you know, Dad for Lad.
but surely that's just making the police officers' jobs easier. Then
Yeah, but
is this where
there's
we're
no.
at? That there's just is it a budget thing? Because for me, it's not a budget thing. It's a massive global cabal that wants these.
I tell you
these
what, the
children to be at risk.
systems. I say it to the police's face. I've said it to judges' faces. The system's full of them. Yeah, absolutely full of them. And this is where we've got the problem. That's the real pandemic we've got. Okay,
Yeah,
this
well
is
said.
the real pandemic we've got, right? And they're making space for people are going to jail for having an opinion. Yeah. And then there's, you know, people that I don't even want to go into, because it infuriates me, but there's people, they're not even putting restrictions on that they should. Why are they rushing cases through? I'm having cases that were 5 years ago that are only just going to court now, 5 years old, and you're
Well,
only just prepared for CPS, or you've only just, this is a serious, this is one of the most serious crimes I can imagine.
to the government, we have got close to 3,000 people convicted and in jail now for tweets and Facebook postings. So
Yeah.
let's just take, for example, one of the individuals who was arrested and subsequently put in jail for tweets since the time where that tragedy happened at that little girl's dance school with the Taylor Swift stuff and all the rest of it, right? Let's go from
You know,
roundabout
we was actually there, literally.
that what this case that you done with Andrew Mellin happened before that, and
Yep.
individuals who've posted tweets and social media posts have been arrested, tried, and sentenced. It's
Mate, you don't understand how many reoffenders we've caught that have actually raped children, okay? They're dangerous, right? And they are still out on bail, and they are still allowed to see their children supervised, bearing in mind. I mean, I caught one the other day. No, actually, not the other day. I handed one into the police in October, yeah? 4 days later, the police still hadn't arrested him. He's still speaking to me. And I was like, no, I'm going for him. Now, the police didn't inform me that they'd gone for him. Right. So we've turned up at the property, travelled 3.5 hours to go to his property, gets there because he'd been on messaging the child till 1 o'clock that morning. So I thought he was probably still asleep. Gets there and his girlfriend says, oh, they've already been and took him. I said, oh, great. What, without even having a statement off me? Because they didn't want me to go live and expose him. When I got there, his twin brother exposed him and said, I've told him about doing this, blah, 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 blah. He has got so many restrictions on him now. It's crazy. I've never known one of these PDFs to have so many restrictions. He's got loads, but he's breaching them all. So I'm hoping that, you know, people come to me and say, oh, he's breaching this, breaching. You've got to report that to the police. I can't do anything about that, you know, and it frustrates me because even though they breach and they come out and I had one a few months ago that kept running away, jumping bail. He's jumped bail twice, right? But yet he's still been bailed. So he got remanded, police remand, gone to court, and they've bailed him again. It don't make sense. If you can make space for somebody voicing their valid opinion, I believe that a lot of it is valid. Don't get me wrong. Some of it, I think that if they're going around, you know, trashing things, give them community service. Make them go and clean up their bloody community. You know, make them go and say
Maria,
again. Sorry.
if the punishment was right putting on a PDF jumpsuit and having to go and pick up litter in the parks, right? That could be an interesting deterrent for reoffenders.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because it won't not the ritualistic or the demonic or anything like that, but when it comes to the ones who we refer to as the child lover demographic, the ones that
But this is why we expose them.
Oh,
because
no,
the police
100%.
yeah,
100%.
this is why the police ring me sometimes. You know, when I first started doing this, Ron, yeah, the police would ring me and say, you better remove that, or I'm going to tell you something else now, so I could go on for hours about this. So they ring me and say, you need to remove the live or you're going to be arrested. What are you going to arrest me for? I've done like 900 of these. All of a sudden I'm going to be arrested. Well, what have I done? The High Court has ruled that we can continue doing what we do. What crime have I committed? So in 9 years doing this, never been arrested, and I push boundaries. Trust me, when I catch them, I don't care. And I've caught Met police officers. I've caught safeguarding officers in school. The list goes on. They get into trusted positions to do this. So I get a message from Nottinghamshire Police, which is funny that they're the problems that I have a lot with. And he said to me, good morning, just to let you know, you need to remove the live stream. I've NFA'd this one brought in yesterday. Bear in mind, this one had turned up. So he'd not only committed the rooming, okay, so there was several charges. So one of them was the rooming. The second was sending and requesting images. Third one was napping, because he was going to keep him for 3 days. And the fourth one, he facilitated and turned up to the meet, to take him. So there were serious charges there. It was remandable. I've had people remanded on less. So this officer said, I've NFA'd him, and I'd appreciate you need to remove the live now while you face criminal charges yourself. I said to him, what's your name? He said, DC, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, you know what, DC, blah, blah, you can go in, SUK, your mum. Yeah. I said, I'm not removing nothing. I went absolutely crazy on the phone to him. I said, how dare you? The amount of time I put into this and effort, and you're telling me you've NFA'd him, meaning no further action. How? Yeah. And then he's come back to me and said, remove it, blah, blah, blah. There was evidence missing. Now, like I said at the beginning, I have OCD. There was no evidence missing. Okay. The officers that arrested him, which were normal police officers, confirmed with me and was on the phone at length on the night time to make sure they've got everything in order. So not only do I do a hard copy to them, but I print all the evidence off and I write my own police statements when I turn up. So they get everything handed in a bundle there and then. Okay. So there's nothing missing. So they've had the hard copy and they've had the photocopies and my statement. So he says to me, I'm telling you now, remove it or you're going to be arrested. I said, what for? He said, malicious communications. I said, haha, go on then, do it. So I get a phone call then saying, can you come and hand yourself into Cotsgrave police station? So I did. I wasn't even going to take a solicitor, but I thought I'll take one. We turned up and he said, oh, he can't come. I said, oh, that's my Mackenzie friend. Absolutely he can. I'm diagnosed with PTSD. We'll have to rearrange then. He said, no, all right, he can come in as long as he's quiet. This was my Mackenzie friend. I said, oh, you said you weren't bringing a solicitor. I said, yeah, well, we change our mind, don't we? I said, I have brought one. So the solicitor's come in. I showed the solicitor all the evidence that I had on the PDF. And he said, Maria, I don't understand. Something's fishy here, right? Why you've got, I showed him all my evidence. He said, listen, your evidence is bang on. He said, less than a quarter of this, I've had to advise people to go guilty. Yeah. So
less than a quarter of it. Less than a quarter. So the lawyer said to you, in typical cases, 25% of what you had would have been pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the solicitor,
cousin or like uncle or nephew or
well, we've been told he's connected to the police, so you work it out.
Wow.
So you imagine he's turned up as well, so he's committed some serious offences there, right? So anyway, we get into interview, and obviously it's a different officer interviewing me. I ended up interviewing the police officer. I ended up saying to him, you as Nottinghamshire Police are failing to protect children. You're having me here answering criminal questions. And then he said, no, I'm not. And that's the only time the solicitor butted in, because otherwise the solicitor kept lifting his glasses up as if to say, what she brought me here for? He said, actually, I think you'll find, officer, that you are, because you've still got her here answering your questions. She might not be under arrest, but she's answering your questions. He said, I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that, And then they waited the full 3 months. Yeah. They waited the full 3 months to to ring me and say, no further action. I said, why not? I said, even the solicitor wanted me to get charged because it'd have opened up a can of worms. Why? Yeah. Why did you NFA him?
Listen, why, right? That was somebody's, like I say, son, nephew, cousin. That is the hidden veil of protection from association with the powers.
Look at that conversation. Realm. Look at that conversation we had. What happened to me on the 6th of December last year? I won't go too much into it, but I had some evidence on some MPs, and I'm sitting there. Just took a sip of my tea. I was having a bit of a breakdown, as you do with PTSD every now and again. All of a sudden, my house was swarmed. I was arrested, thrown into the back of a police van, took to a police station, questioned, trying to get all the information out of me. And I was like, mate, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not interested in politics. I'm not interested in nothing of that. I'm interested in PDFs. And if there was one at number 10, I'd go and knock the door. That's
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
And then 3 days later, I get an email saying no further action. You've treated me like that, but no further action. So I rang the officer back and I said, you've treated me like a criminal, but yet you can just say to me no further action. She went, yeah, that's it. You had to be questioned. I said, what? I'm thrown around like you did and treated like you treated me. Like they treated me 8.5 hours. They locked me up.
That's surely a message from the in crowd, right? That's
Yeah, of course it is.
That's wild, man.
Of course it is.
Yeah, listen, we're very familiar with John Wedger here on this channel. He's one of our recurrent panel members, guests, and co-hosts. And, you know, literally, it's like you're speaking the same language as John. And when he talks about the corruption and the two-tiered systems when it comes to those in the know and those who are not in the know with regards to the abuse that takes place. Don't
get me wrong, there's some good officers, because I've had officers say, are you still live streaming? I'll say, no, I've turned off, and they'll shake my hand and say, thank you for what you do. But they can't have an opinion. They're not allowed, because they lose everything. They lose their job, they lose their pension. They can't go against. Do you really think that half of these want to be there? They don't. Half of them don't even want to be in that job anymore, but they're so stuck to their pension and everything else. Yeah. Unfortunately, without that, they're nothing. They've government have got everybody trapped where they need them.
Yeah, this is the thing. John had his life threatened. He lost his job. They tried to take everything from him, and John will be coming back. Everybody, John's been how do we put this? Positively occupied, shall we say? So
yeah, but then they twist it, Ron. Then they twist it that you're going crazy. Then they try and section you and all sorts when you start speaking out.
Listen, I get it. I completely get it. I mean, I've mainly dealt with the online criminal enterprises, if that makes sense, as opposed to the individuals and the politicians. And when you look at criminality, right, it's a different form of horror because it's a commodity we're talking about. We're not even talking about a human being at this point. It's a commodity. And you kind of get under their skin when you disrupt all their money and start taking their websites away, and all of a sudden their customer base gets reduced, and all of a sudden their buyers are, you know, getting flagged up on systems that have never been flagged up on before. It causes a lot of pushback, and the death threats and the realities of this whole world on different levels has a different level of danger for those who are involved in it. But the closer you get to where you were going with the politicians, and where John is further, you know, steps further than yourself when it comes to getting into the inner realms of all this, it becomes a real threat to life. And I just want to remind everybody, Ron did mess up and forgot to push his, you know, 2,500 viewers from the last show to this show. I apologize, but no one has to worry, because Maria is the new co-host of this show, and we'll be back on every single Monday. And this has basically just been a testament and introduction to you, Maria, for those who didn't know. And I know everyone's going to do me a favor right now and like and share and push this out again. And when we're back next week, we're going to, like I say, sometimes it will just be me and Maria, sometimes it'll be me and Maria and a guest. And we really want to delve into the realities of all of this from where your perception of it is, my perception, and the guest. Because I think for some people, what you do, because you've been doing it so long, you must have seen a rise in two different forms of this content. People that are doing the same work as you, okay, but just in a different media format, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, but they're doing it for the right reasons. And then the trend followers, okay? But
then you also get survivors and victims, okay? This is the other thing, right? You get a lot of trolling. I recently had a court case where I had to take a woman to court because I never met this woman, but I understand if you put yourself in this is the only way to describe it. If you put yourself in the public eye, be prepared for the amount of SH1T that's going to get thrown at you. No matter how good you're doing, what you're doing good, it's always going to be thrown at you. But I've learnt my lesson. So I used to retaliate. I'd jump on a live and say, "Oh, you go and suck your MUMs, come to me, blah, blah, blah." Now I don't. I take a chilled approach to them because they're not I'm not going to waste my time on them. I've had to have a court case where this woman's apparently, it turned 1 minute she'd met me in a mental institution that I'd thrown my 2-year-old baby across the floor. I've never even got a 2-year-old baby. And then when I proved that I wasn't this person, because obviously being a hunter, I can go and find people just, easily. So I found this woman that I was supposed to be. I'd done a live with this woman. This woman showed her face. This woman said how she knew this woman. And then she went, "I got it wrong. Sorry, she's my long lost sister." So I'm like, oh my God, and it took, the police would not do anything about it. And now that was what you call malicious communications. She made my life hell. I was crying my eyes out, literally, and I'm so strong.
Yeah. Well,
I've been told, they make up so much stuff, doctor documents, falsified documents, and make out that this is you've done this. And now I've started to say, do you know what? If I've done that, that's fine. Let the police come to me. If I've done this,
do you know what's crazy, Maria?
Yeah.
That doesn't see if you were just being if 10 years ago you'd just become a YouTuber, right? Who was just talking about Maria's life and you got successful. All of that would have happened. A percentage of that is just because you're an internet person and they come after you with the most outrageous madness, whether it's for derailing you, whether it's for their own clout, whether it's to destroy somebody with more of a following.
My belief in it is when somebody's so but I say this to them because a lot of them that do it are actually survivors and victims, but because they're so okay, you can get to a point where you feel rock bottom, okay, so you can't feel happy, and I get that, okay, and I feel sorry for people that feel like that, but the only person that will ever pick you out of that is yourself. Reach out, ask for help, don't turn into a hateful, horrible person just because you're feeling crappy about yourself. Somebody will pull you out of that. I've even offered my trolls sometimes to say, "Listen, I know you've trolled me, but you've obviously gone through some stuff in your life, just like I have, but I've chose a different way to deal with it. I'll support you. I'll help you. You don't need to be this horrible, hateful person. You channel that negative."
I choose to take the low road when it comes to these individuals. So fair play to you for being a bigger person, Maria, 100%. And I just want to remind everybody once again, Maria, her new YouTube channel, which should be on the screen now. Make sure you guys go and subscribe. We're going to be helping you sort of roll out some content. And once you get the hang of the live streaming side of things on YouTube, which I'm sure it'll be very easy for you, we will be doing an after chat after this chat, just to help Maria build her own sort of community over there and build her own voice, because as you can tell, she has an important part to play in keeping children safe across the board. And I know you're pushed for time tonight. We've hit that hour mark. I think we've delved into your credentials very well. I think next week will be I won't have an administrative issue where I forget to forward the last stream to this stream like an idiot. So apologies to you, Maria, that I couldn't get your voice out to more people this evening, but I think we've done fantastic almost across all of the platforms. So it's been.
Do you want to mention about the neighbour? Obviously, when he came out, the neighbour, because they were all good friends with him, wasn't they?
Well, yeah,
and he'd also had the royals at his house as well. Don't forget, they borrowed a clapped out Land Rover, was it?
Something like that, right?
Yeah. So Kate and William went to visit him.
Alba, I'm sorry, I meant to. I was Maria was talking last time you posted. Yes, we will touch on that once. I think I just want to say as well, one's in the chat for Maria for not a single swear word and not a single accidentally slip of the tongue when speaking algorithm for her first time on YouTube. Well, not her first time on YouTube, but her first, time on the Sean Atwood channel. I just want to say 10 out of 10 for, for doing so well with the algorithm chat. But
well, that's I put one video on YouTube before and it got took down. I lost my channel straight away. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, we'll we'll get that sorted out, because no one wants that. So again, it's about building you something now moving forward, because again, you've done this close to a decade, and you've done it for the love of taking these monsters down, and you should be commended.
Absolutely.
You've got so many stories to tell. I mean, you've got 800 busts under your belt before you've even got to do anything else just to talk about on your channel. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to hearing about the back catalogue, hearing about the greatest hits and all of these things and the things that stand out in your mind with this whole topic. But yeah, let's wrap this up with the final part of this, where he's been arrested. They've taken all his devices. They've then gone to the station, and he's been dropped off back home. The fact that still nothing has happened. Tell us any last key points, Maria.
Well, one of the neighbours went round and she recorded herself, which is out there publicly as well, because she posted it on social media, so it's accessible. And at first he was saying he's been let out now. She went, what? Let with nothing? Let out with no charges, nothing? And then in the end he said he was bailed, but he was having us basically we were all getting done. Like, that wasn't true, obviously, because we wouldn't break the law. We're allowed to do what we do. But I'm still not being updated, and that's what's frustrating me. I'll get really frustrated.
So let's just give everybody a percentage, like base this off data. How many cases stand out the way this one stands out for inconsistencies, for how long this has just been left hanging for?
The last one I had like this was he was the mayor of Rugby that I caught. He wasn't just the mayor of Rugby, he was the councillor for 16 years for his area. He was a trustee of the air ambulance, and he was the pilot for the air ambulance, and he was a paramedic officer. Okay. He got an NFA, yet he admitted everything on camera, and admitted saying that he'd done stuff with underage boys in his camper van. All on camera, but he got an NFA. So this is what frightens me. Danger, any of them getting NFAs, but these blasé ones that don't care, and you're wondering how many children are you are they going to damage because they know that they can get away with it?
It's even you can even apply even sadder what's the word I'm looking for, lines of code.
We have children that never make it into adults because of what happens. They unalive themselves, you know.
Yeah, it's so true. And again, I think as with the series progresses, I think a lot of people are going to be so interested to hear just how many of these individuals you've taken down, the individual stories, sorry, and just to hear more about it, Maria, because it's a topic that I think it's few people in the world that stand on the side of these individuals publicly.
Yeah.
So we are all ears when it comes to people like yourself telling their stories and spreading the word, keeping kids safe, making people more aware of the realities of all of this. When we have ex-royal advisors swarming around, grooming children on the internet with the guise of being a painter, and to come and rustle around in his royal trinkets. It's disturbing, it's horrible, but it's a reality that none of these children choose to be survivors.
And a lot of it happens close to home as well, Ron. You know, here's one thing that I always say. If you suspect, it's every adult's duty of care to any child, whether they're yours or not. And if you suspect, I say I've got goosebumps because so many people kept saying, I knew something weren't right when you was younger. I knew this was going on. Why didn't you do it? You couldn't have stopped what happened, but you could stop how long it went on for. So if you suspect, even if it's a family member, you suspect it, report it anonymously, but don't just report it to one person. Report it to several authorities like the school, safeguarding, police. So do it to quite a few so it can't be missed. And then keep following it up as well. If there's nothing wrong, do it anonymously if you have to. But if there's nothing wrong, there's nothing to worry about. Right. And but let it get investigated, because you could be sitting on something and thinking, well, I don't want to get involved, don't want to upset people. Sod them. Worry about the child.
Correct. 100 million.
And also the other thing is as well, if a child is so like you're going to work, I don't know, and your child every time is crying, I don't want to stay with auntie so and so or uncle so and so or cousin or whatever person it is, don't want to stay with them, and they keep crying, sit down with them and have a conversation as to why.
Right.
Don't shout and say, well, I've got to go to work. You know, don't leave them there and pushing them, feel that then they can't speak to you as the adult and say, this is why I'm scared to be here, because there could be something going on. It could be that the child's just got separation anxiety, doesn't want to be away from you, but it could be something serious. And if you're pushing that child saying, I don't care, I've got to go to work, or I've got to go here, or I'm going on a night out, you're staying there, that child's then going to think, who can I turn to?
Yeah.
My mum or dad's not even wanting to hear why I don't want to be there, you know. So
True.
you've
It's
got to
true.
you've got to pay attention to body language as well.
Yeah, look for the signs. And this is something we often talk about. There's a non-verbal signal for any sort of abuse within the home. A lot of people, you know, we've all seen the movies where the policeman comes to the door and, you know, miss, is everything all right? And then the horrible person that's causing whatever horrible thing that happens in the background, and they say everything's fine. And the verbal hand signal is to put your hand up, tuck in your thumb, and fold your fingers over like this. And this is the hand signal for you are in distress from a non-verbal point of view. So remember
Yeah.
that. It can save lives, and it has saved lives so far. So just remember that, people. There is a non-verbal form of communication to give people the sign that you need help. Maria,
And if there is any survivors watching as well, don't think you're not going to be believed. If that's not a worry for you, go and get your justice. Don't worry about what other people think.
yeah. Well, look, Maria, you get 10 out of 10 for keeping the potty mouth under control, for speaking algorithm. I get an F for fail for screwing up our viewership for this evening. I'll not make that mistake next week. And I look forward to next week with you. And I think everyone in the side chat will too. Please do us a favor, everyone, and just share this out. Post it on some pages for us. I don't usually ask you to do that. I just ask you to do a general share. But if you could go and post it on some pages and get a little bit of traction built up for me, because I screwed up so intently this evening. And I just want to say a big thank you to Maria. A big thank you to agreeing to be part of this. On Discord, I will set up a page for people to be able to put forward individuals or channels or hunters and things like that. I know Maria's going to have her list of respected friends that she's met over the years that I'm sure would love to come and have chats with us. And hopefully we can grow this and you all enjoy it. So fantastic. Thank you so much for being here, Maria. Thank you so much for giving up your time. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Make sure you guys go and like and subscribe to Maria's channel. And I will see you guys tomorrow. What time is tomorrow? I think it's, hang on a second. It's probably going to be around 12:30, 1 o'clock, regardless of what it says. I'll be setting it for that because that was a good time for today.
All right, give me a call after.
Oh, I will. Don't worry.
All right, then.
All right. Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
See you soon. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you in the next one. And thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe.